The morning started like any other at the Pine Ridge Research Facility. Alex pulled into the parking lot in his old blue car, coffee in hand, ready for another day of testing the neural interface system. He wasn't a soldier or a scientist, just a programmer who had signed up for some extra money and the chance to be part of something interesting. The facility sat hidden among tall pine trees, its white walls gleaming in the morning sun. Inside, Marcus was already getting prepped in a separate room. Unlike Alex, he had a military background and specialized in AI systems. He had volunteered to help test new combat interface technology, thinking it would be a routine experiment. Neither of them knew their lives were about to change forever. The testing rooms were identical. White walls, comfortable chairs that looked like dentist seats, and screens filled with flowing data. Technicians attached small silver sensors to their heads while explaining the day's tests. Alex was supposed to test basic neural commands for computer interfaces. Marcus was scheduled to try out new combat simulation software. Simple stuff, or so they thought. Outside, dark clouds gathered. The facility's weather monitoring system failed to notice the building storm. As both men settled into their chairs, the first rumble of thunder rolled across the sky. The technicians carried on with their work, checking systems and adjusting settings. Beginning neural interface calibration, a voice announced over the speakers in both rooms. Alex closed his eyes, feeling the familiar tingle of the neural sensors activating. 3 rooms away, Marcus did the same. The storm grew closer. Lightning struck just as both neural interfaces reached full power. The facility's power grid surged. Emergency systems kicked in, but not fast enough. Energy coursed through the neural interface network, breaking through the safety barriers between testing rooms. In that split second, 2 separate minds touched. Alex felt it first, a sudden rush of unfamiliar memories. Combat training, the weight of a rifle, the taste of military rations. He opened his eyes, confused, but still saw the white walls of his testing room. Yet somehow he could also see a different room, from a different angle. Marcus experienced it too. Computer code flowed through his mind. The feeling of sitting for hours at a desk, solving programming puzzles. A small apartment with walls covered in sci-fi posters. 2 sets of memories, 2 sets of skills, suddenly sharing the same mental space. The facility erupted into organized chaos. Alarms blared. Technical staff rushed between rooms, trying to understand what had happened. When they tried to shut down the neural interfaces, both men cried out in pain. The connection, whatever it was, had become part of them. They first met face to face in the facility's medical wing an hour later. Alex, still shaking slightly, looked at the stranger whose thoughts he could feel at the edges of his mind. Marcus sat on the opposite bed, his military training evident in his straight posture despite the situation. "So," Alex said awkwardly, "I guess you're the one who knows how to field strip an M4 in under a minute." It was the first thing that came to mind from the flood of new memories. Marcus nodded, managing a small smile. "And you're the one who can code in 5 different programming languages." He paused, frowning. "Make that 6. I can suddenly write in Python. And I definitely couldn't do that this morning." The doctors couldn't explain it. The scientists were baffled. Somehow, the power surge had created something entirely new. When the medical team tried to move them to separate rooms for testing, both men developed severe headaches. It seemed they needed to stay close, at least until someone could figure out what had happened. As the day turned to evening, they sat in a hastily prepared shared room, trying to make sense of their new reality. They could feel each other's emotions, share thoughts if they concentrated, and had access to each other's skills and memories. 2 strangers, now linked more closely than twins. "They're going to want to study this," Marcus said, voicing what they both knew. The military implications alone would keep them under observation for months. Alex nodded, feeling Marcus's concern mixing with his own anxiety. "Well," he said, attempting to lighten the mood, "at least I'll finally learn how to do a proper push-up." The joke earned a genuine laugh from Marcus, and for a moment, their shared mental space felt lighter. Neither of them knew what would happen next, but they were starting to realize they would face it together, whether they wanted to or not. The accidental neural link had turned two strangers into something unprecedented in human history. Two minds learning to function as one small joke at a time. The first night was the hardest. Neither Alex nor Marcus could sleep, not with someone else's thoughts constantly flowing through their minds. The medical wing of Pine Ridge Research Facility had given them a shared room with 2 beds, but they quickly discovered that distance made the headaches worse. Even 15 feet of separation felt like someone was squeezing their skulls in a vice. Around midnight, they gave up on sleep and sat in the uncomfortable hospital chairs, trying to figure out how to block each other's thoughts. It wasn't working very well. "Could you maybe think a little quieter about that game you're designing?" Marcus asked, rubbing his temples. "The background music is stuck in my head now." Alex sighed. "Sorry, but you're not much better. I keep seeing tank schematics every time I close my eyes." He paused, then added, "Though I have to admit, that new targeting system you were working on is pretty clever." The night shift doctors kept coming in every hour to check their vital signs and run tests. Both men had learned to hate the sight of needles and brain scanning equipment. The worst part was that neither of them could even go to the bathroom without the other feeling the discomfort of separation. Morning brought new challenges. They discovered that strong emotions were harder to control than regular thoughts. When a nurse accidentally spilled hot coffee on Alex's arm, Marcus jumped in his chair, feeling the burn as if it was his own. Later, when Marcus got angry at a doctor's repeated questions, Alex found himself clenching his fists without meaning to. "We need to figure this out," Marcus said around noon, after they'd managed to eat breakfast despite sharing each other's taste sensations. "I can't spend the rest of my life knowing what someone else's cornflakes taste like." Alex nodded, then had an idea. "Maybe we're thinking about this wrong. Instead of trying to block each other out, what if we try to organize it? Like creating mental folders." It took them several hours of trial and error, but they started making progress. They learned that if they concentrated hard enough, they could choose which thoughts to share. It wasn't perfect. Strong emotions still leaked through, but it was better than the mental chaos of the previous night. The afternoon brought a parade of military officials and scientists, all wanting to study their unique connection. Alex and Marcus sat through test after test, their shared irritation growing with each new questionnaire and scan. They discovered that their connection had some unexpected benefits. During a problem-solving test, they found they could work together seamlessly, Alex's programming knowledge blending perfectly with Marcus's strategic thinking. "It's remarkable," one scientist said, reviewing their test results. "Your combined problem-solving abilities exceed what either of you could do individually. It's like your brains have found a way to work in parallel." As evening approached again, they faced their biggest challenge yet. One of the military officials wanted them separated for individual questioning. The moment they tried to go to different rooms, both men doubled over in pain. Their heart rates spiked, and the medical team had to intervene. "That's not happening," Marcus said firmly, once the pain subsided. His military training helped him stand up to the officials, while Alex's diplomatic nature helped soften the refusal. Together, they made a surprisingly effective team at handling the bureaucracy. That night, as they prepared for their second night in the facility, things felt different. They had started to develop a rhythm, a way of existing in each other's mental space without constantly crashing into each other's thoughts. "You know what's weird?" Alex said as they got ready for bed. "I'm starting to get used to this. Like having a radio playing in the background, but instead of music, it's someone else's thoughts." Marcus smiled slightly. "Yeah, I know what you mean. Though I could do without knowing that you sing, never gonna give you up in the shower. Hey, at least I'm not the one who secretly watches cat videos when I'm supposed to be doing maintenance reports." They both laughed, and for the first time, Their shared mental space felt comfortable rather than invasive. Neither of them would have chosen this connection, but they were learning to make it work. As they finally drifted off to sleep, their dreams began to mix and merge, creating new stories neither of them could have imagined alone. It happened during their third night at the facility. Alex was dreaming about his childhood, but this time, Marcus was there too, watching like a ghost in the corner of his memories. The dream took them to an old house with peeling paint and broken windows. Inside, a young Alex hid under his bed, while angry voices shouted downstairs. Marcus felt the fear, felt the way the dust made little Alex's nose itch as he tried to stay quiet. When they woke up, neither spoke for a long time. Marcus finally broke the silence. "You never told anyone about that night, did you?" Alex stared at the ceiling. "No, just like you never told anyone about what happened in that village in Afghanistan." It was Marcus's turn to go quiet. His memories had leaked into their shared dreams too. The burning buildings, the choices he'd had to make, the weight of responsibility that still haunted him. He'd kept those memories locked away for years, but now someone else carried them too. During breakfast, they found themselves working together without speaking. Alex reached for the salt before Marcus could ask for it. Marcus automatically grabbed an extra napkin when Alex spilled some coffee, knowing it was going to happen seconds before it did. Their minds had started to sync in small, everyday ways. The scientists were excited about their progress. Tests showed their brains had developed new neural pathways, creating a sort of shared processing network. When given complex problems to solve, they found solutions faster than any individual could. Alex's skill with computer systems combined with Marcus's military strategy created unexpected insights. "Look at this," Alex said during one of their tests, pointing at a complex AI defense system on the screen. "If we merge your combat experience with my programming knowledge, we could create something completely new. A system that thinks like a soldier but processes data like a computer." Marcus nodded, already seeing the possibilities through their shared understanding. The response times would be incredible. It could save lives. They spent the afternoon drawing up plans, their minds working in perfect sync. Alex's fingers flew over the keyboard, while Marcus provided instant feedback through their link, refining and improving each line of code. The researchers watched in amazement as the two men created something that would have taken a team of experts months to develop. But it wasn't all work. During their breaks, they discovered their shared connection had a lighter side. Marcus found himself laughing at coding jokes he wouldn't have understood a week ago. Alex started appreciating military humor that would have gone over his head before. Their separate lives and experiences had begun to blend, creating a new perspective that belonged to neither of them alone. That evening, they tried an experiment of their own. Sitting face to face, they attempted to control the flow of information between their minds. It was like learning to use a new muscle they never knew they had. "Ready?" Alex asked. "I'm going to try to send you just one specific memory." Marcus nodded, focusing on keeping his mind open but controlled. Slowly, carefully, a single memory flowed between them. Alex's first successful computer program, the pride and excitement of that moment. The memory transferred cleanly, without the usual flood of connected thoughts and feelings. "We did it." Alex grinned. "Your turn." Marcus concentrated and shared the memory of his first successful mission as a team leader, the satisfaction of bringing everyone home safe. The memory flowed just as smoothly, clear and controlled. By bedtime, they had mastered this new skill, able to share specific thoughts and memories without the overwhelming mental noise of their earlier connection. It felt like upgrading from an old radio with static to a digital streaming service, clear, controlled, and precise. As they prepared for sleep, both men realized how far they'd come. What had started as a frightening accident had become something else entirely. They weren't just two people sharing thoughts anymore. They were partners beginning to understand the true potential of their unique connection. "You know," Alex said as they drifted off to sleep, "I never thought I'd say this, But I'm starting to think this whole neural link thing might not be the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Marcus smiled in the darkness. Yeah, he replied, sending a wave of agreement through their link. Me too, though I could still do without knowing every single Star Wars quote you know. Their shared laughter echoed both in the room and in their minds, a perfect blend of two people who had become something more than just the sum of their parts. The meeting room felt too small for so many important people. Alex counted 4 generals, 6 scientists in white coats, and 3 government officials in black suits. Next to him, Marcus sat straight-backed, military training taking over. Through their link, they shared a mix of nervousness and curiosity. "Gentlemen," the lead general began, "what happened to you was an accident, but it might be the most important accident in the history of neural interface technology." He placed a folder marked "Top Secret" on the table. "We want to offer you both positions on a classified project. Your neural link is unique, and we need to understand it." Alex and Marcus glanced at each other, though they didn't need to. They could already feel each other's thoughts about the proposal. The money was good, very good, but more than that, they both felt excited about the possibility of exploring their connection further. "What exactly would we be doing?" Marcus asked, while Alex's mind already raced through the technical possibilities. The lead scientist stepped forward, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "We want you to help us map and understand your neural connection. The way your minds work together is revolutionary. You're not just sharing thoughts. You're creating new ways of processing information." They spent the next week in a new lab, running tests they helped design themselves. Their shared knowledge made them uniquely qualified to understand both the technical and practical aspects of their condition. Alex's programming expertise merged with Marcus's understanding of military applications, creating insights neither would have had alone. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday afternoon. They were testing the limits of their connection, trying to solve complex mathematical problems together. Alex's mind handled the calculations while Marcus's tactical thinking found patterns in the numbers. Suddenly, they both sat up straight, sharing the same realization. "The quantum field," Alex exclaimed, fingers flying over the keyboard. "Marcus, are you seeing this?" Marcus nodded, their shared excitement building. "The neural link. It's not just connecting our thoughts. It's creating a quantum bridge between our minds." The scientists gathered around as the two men explained their discovery. Their neural connection wasn't just sending signals back and forth. It was operating on a quantum level, allowing their minds to process information in parallel. It was like having 2 computers that could instantly share not just data, but processing power. They worked late into the night, fueled by coffee and the thrill of discovery. Alex's understanding of quantum computing merged perfectly with Marcus's grasp of tactical operations. Together, they began designing a new kind of AI system, one that could think both mathematically and intuitively at the same time. "Look at this," Marcus said, pointing to their test results. "When we work together, we're not just combining our knowledge. We're creating entirely new ways of thinking. The AI system we're designing, it's learning from how our minds work together." Alex nodded, understanding completely. Through their link, he could feel Marcus's excitement matching his own. "It's like we've accidentally created a template for true artificial intelligence. Not just a computer that can calculate, but one that can actually think and adapt like a human mind." The project leaders were ecstatic. What had started as a strange accident was turning into a major breakthrough in both neural interface technology and artificial intelligence. Alex and Marcus found themselves working with top scientists from around the facility, explaining how their shared consciousness worked. One evening, as they sat in their now shared quarters, they still couldn't be too far apart. They reflected on how much had changed. The headaches from their initial linking had faded, replaced by a comfortable sense of connection. They had learned to work together so smoothly that sometimes it was hard to remember where one's thoughts ended and the other's began. "You know what's funny?" Alex said, looking up from his tablet. "A week ago, I was just a regular programmer. Now we're helping create the future of AI technology." Marcus smiled, sending a wave of agreement through their link. "And I was just another military tech specialist. Now we're revolutionizing how humans and machines might work together." They both felt it, the sense that they were part of something bigger than themselves. Their accidental neural link wasn't just changing their lives, it was opening up new possibilities for all of humanity. As they prepared for another day of groundbreaking work, neither of them regretted the accident that had brought them together. The first sign that something was wrong came during their morning coffee break. Alex felt a strange tickle at the edge of his mind, like static on an old TV. Through their link, he could tell Marcus felt it too. They both stopped mid-conversation, trying to identify the strange sensation. "Something's not right," Marcus said, his military training putting him on high alert. "This feels different from our usual connection." The tickle turned into a sharp pain, making both men wince. In their shared mental space, they could sense something trying to force its way in, like someone picking a lock on a door they hadn't even known existed. "We're under attack," Alex realized, his programmer's instincts kicking in. "Someone's trying to hack our neural link." They rushed to the lab, the pain growing stronger with each step. The security systems showed nothing wrong, but they both knew better. Through their connection, they could feel the intrusion attempting to wedge itself between their minds. Dr. Evans, their lead researcher, found them clutching their heads in pain. "What's happening?" she asked, already reaching for her monitoring equipment. "Someone's attacking the link," Marcus managed to say through gritted teeth. "They're trying to get into our shared mental space." Alex's fingers flew over the keyboard, trying to trace the source of the attack. The pain made it hard to focus, but Marcus's military discipline helped them both stay clear-headed. They had learned to share their strongest traits through the link, and now they needed every advantage. "There," Alex pointed at his screen. "The attack is coming from inside the facility. Someone here is trying to break into our connection." Security teams scrambled into action, but the attack continued. The intruder was using the facility's own neural interface equipment, modified to act as a battering ram against their mental defenses. Marcus suddenly grabbed Alex's arm. "Wait, remember what we discovered about the quantum nature of our link." Alex caught on immediately, their shared understanding making words almost unnecessary. If their connection operated on a quantum level, maybe they could use that to fight back. Together, they began building mental barriers, using their unique bond to create defenses no single mind could manage. The pain intensified as the attacker tried to break through, but now they were ready. Alex's knowledge of computer security merged with Marcus's combat experience, creating layers of protection in their shared mental space. It was like building a firewall and a fortress at the same time. "They're trying to copy our neural pattern," Alex said, recognizing the attack pattern. "They want to steal our research." Through their link, Marcus shared a tactical plan. Instead of just defending, they could use their connection to trace the attack back to its source. It was risky. They would have to lower some of their defenses to let the attacker think they were succeeding. The next few minutes felt like hours. They let their attacker think they were breaking through, all while following the digital trail back to its source. The pain was intense, but their shared strength made it bearable. Suddenly, both men turned to look at the door. "Lab 7, they said in unison. Security teams rushed out, and minutes later they heard shouting from down the hall. The attack stopped as quickly as it had begun. Security dragged out Dr. Richards, one of the newer researchers on the project. They found him connected to a modified neural interface machine, surrounded by data storage devices. "He was trying to steal everything," Alex said, still shaking from the experience. "Not just our research data, but our actual neural connection patterns." Marcus nodded, sending waves of relief through their link. He would have sold it to the highest bidder. Military neural interface technology, quantum AI processing. It would have been worth millions. As the security teams led Dr. Richards away, Alex and Marcus sat in their lab, recovering from the attack. Their shared mental space felt different now, stronger, more secure. The attack had forced them to develop better control over their connection, turning it into something even more powerful than before. "You know what's weird?" Alex said later that evening. When he tried to break in, it felt wrong. Not just painful, but wrong. Like someone trying to come between. Between friends, Marcus finished the thought. They both knew it was true. What had started as an accidental link between strangers had become something neither of them wanted to lose. The lab was quiet except for the soft hum of machines. Alex and Marcus sat across from Dr. Evans as she explained what her team had discovered. After weeks of research, they had finally found a way to safely separate the neural link between them. The solution sat on the table between them, two small devices that could gradually unwind their connected minds. "The process will take about 24 hours, Dr. Evans explained. After that, you'll both be back to normal. No more shared thoughts, no more mental connection." Neither man spoke right away. Through their link, they shared a complex mix of emotions that words couldn't quite capture. The choice in front of them seemed both simple and impossibly difficult. "What are the risks?" Marcus asked, though he could feel Alex already running through the technical details in their shared mind. "Minimal," Dr. Evans replied. "The separation would be gentle, like slowly untangling two ropes. You'll both retain the memories you've shared, but the active connection will be gone." Alex picked up one of the devices, turning it over in his hands. "And we have to decide now. The equipment is ready whenever you are. But yes, we need your decision soon. The military wants to move forward with either continuing the research with your linked minds or studying the separation process." They asked for time to think it over. Walking through the facility's garden area, they still couldn't be too far apart. They tried to sort through their thoughts and feelings about the choice ahead of them. "Remember that first day," Alex said, sitting on a bench, "when we couldn't even go to the bathroom without getting a headache?" Marcus laughed, the sound carrying both amusement and nostalgia through their link. "And now we're building revolutionary AI systems together and fighting off neural hackers. Funny how things change." They both felt the weight of what they'd accomplished together. Their combined abilities had advanced neural interface technology by years, maybe decades. The AI systems they were developing could change everything from military operations to medical treatment. "I can list all the logical reasons to separate," Alex said, his mind automatically organizing the points. "We'd have privacy again. No more shared dreams. No more feeling each other's paper cuts." Marcus nodded, adding his own thoughts to their shared mental space. "We could go back to our old lives. No more being stuck within 50 feet of each other. No more military base restrictions." But even as they listed the reasons, they both felt the unspoken counter-arguments flowing through their link. The way they could solve problems together that neither could handle alone. The comfort of never being truly alone. The deep understanding that went beyond what normal friendship or partnership could achieve. "You know," Marcus said slowly, before the link, "I never told anyone about what happened during my last deployment. Never could find the words for it. And I never told anyone about my childhood," Alex replied. "But now we don't have to explain. We just understand." They sat in comfortable silence, their shared mental space filled with quiet contemplation. A memory floated between them, the moment they had repelled the hackers' attack together, their minds working in perfect sync. "Dr. Evans," Alex called later as they returned to the lab. "We have some questions about the separation process." But they weren't asking about risks or procedures. Instead, they wanted to know about alternatives. Could the link be modified instead of removed? Was there a way to create a middle ground? The research team spent the next few days running new tests, exploring possibilities they hadn't considered before. The results were promising. The same technology meant to separate them could be used to give them more control over their connection. "So we could turn it down when we need privacy," Alex said, examining the new data, but keep the ability to work together at full strength. Marcus smiled, sending a wave of approval through their link. The best of both worlds. Their decision wasn't what anyone had expected when they first offered the separation choice. But as they worked with the research team to modify their connection, instead of ending it, both men knew they had made the right choice. What had started as an accident had become something worth keeping, worth improving. That evening, celebrating their decision with pizza in their shared quarters, they felt more sure than ever. Sometimes the best paths forward aren't the ones that take you back to normal, but the ones that lead you somewhere entirely new. 6 months after their decision to maintain a modified version of their neural link, Alex and Marcus stood before a room full of scientists and military officials. The changes to their connection had worked better than anyone had expected. They could now control the strength of their link, turning it up or down like a volume knob on a radio. The breakthrough wasn't just in the neural interface technology. Alex explained to the audience, while Marcus sent him encouraging thoughts through their carefully maintained connection. It was understanding that forced connection isn't the answer. The human mind needs both connection and privacy to work at its best. They demonstrated their modified link, showing how they could switch between working as one merged consciousness and operating as separate individuals. The military officials leaned forward with interest when Marcus showed how their system could be used to coordinate teams in the field without overwhelming the soldiers with constant mental chatter. Imagine combat units that can share tactical information instantly, Marcus said, but still maintain the mental space they need to make clear decisions. The medical researchers were even more excited about the possibilities for treating brain injuries and mental illness. Alex and Marcus had worked with the research team to develop new ways of helping minds communicate and heal. Their accident had opened up possibilities no one had imagined before. During their lunch break, they sat in what had become their favorite spot in the facility's garden. They could now be several hundred feet apart without discomfort, but they still enjoyed each other's company. Their shared mental space had become comfortable, like a room they could enter or leave as needed. "Remember when you couldn't stand my Star Wars references?" Alex asked, unwrapping his sandwich. Marcus laughed. "Now I catch myself quoting them in military briefings. Last week I told a general that many Bothans died to bring us this information." He actually got the reference. Their link hummed with shared amusement. The modified connection allowed them to feel each other's emotions when they wanted to, but they could also have complete privacy when needed. They had found a balance that worked for both of them. The afternoon brought more tests and demonstrations. They showed how their research had led to new understanding of human consciousness itself. The way their minds had learned to work together was teaching scientists about memory, emotion, and thought in ways no previous research had managed. "The human brain is more adaptable than we ever knew," Alex told a group of visiting neuroscientists. "It's not just about sharing thoughts. It's about creating new ways of thinking entirely." Through their link, Marcus added his own insights, and Alex seamlessly incorporated them into the presentation. They had become so good at working together that observers often couldn't tell who had come up with which ideas. In truth, their best innovations came from the space between their minds, where their different ways of thinking merged and created something new. That evening, they celebrated another successful day with their research team. The facility had become home, and their accidental link had created a family of sorts around them. Other volunteers were already being carefully selected to test modified versions of their neural interface technology. "You know what's funny?" Marcus said as they walked back to their quarters. "If you had told me a year ago that a computer glitch would lead to all this, I would have thought you were crazy." Alex nodded, sending agreement through their link. "And if you had told me I'd willingly share my mind with a military guy who couldn't even code 'Hello World,' I would have laughed." They both felt the truth of how far they had come. Their accidental neural link had changed not just their lives, but potentially the future of human communication and consciousness itself. The technology they helped develop would eventually help soldiers coordinate in the field, let doctors treat brain injuries in new ways, and create new possibilities for human-AI interaction. As they reached their quarters, they did what had become their evening routine. Slowly turned down their neural link to give each other privacy for the night. The connection remained, a comfortable background hum that reminded them they weren't alone. "Good night," Alex said out loud, though he could have sent the thought. "Good night," Marcus replied, smiling at their shared habit of using words even when they didn't need to. As they drifted off to sleep in their separate rooms, their link hummed quietly between them, a reminder that sometimes the best things in life come from accidents, and the strongest connections are the ones we choose to keep.